taking this to the present, I mean, clearly the world is in crisis. Yeah, today's the 5th of January 2012. There's a massive Occupy movement going on. There's a lot of talk about an imminent economic collapse in the United States and possibly Europe. And so, looked at sort of through that lens, it could be argued that the world needs a whole lot more Wayseers right now. But that kind of brings me to my next question. One of the recent conversations that has come up around the Occupy movement, there's this idea that there's this 1% and this 99%, and the 1% are oppressing the 99%. And the 1% are defined as those people who have the most wealth. But there's another way of looking at this, and there's another sort of vaguely 1% that they estimate, people who are psychopaths, people who are unable to feel empathy for others. So a lot's being said about people like, let's say, the chairman of Goldman Sachs, just having no empathy for others. You know, somebody who has 20,000 times more money than they need to live for the rest of their life, and yet they want more, and they're willing to cause famine and war and so forth to get more. Is there a crossover between psychopathy and a Wayseer, or are those two totally different things?
They're different things, just to be clear, and yet Wayseers are vulnerable to that condition, probably more vulnerable than most, because they do have that lack of repression, which would allow more base instincts to drive them. The other thing is Wayseers are much more likely to become the chairman of big, powerful corporation. So that means they're going to much more likely be in the situation where they can abuse their power. Also, Wayseers tend to be abused as children because they're misunderstood. We don't have a social, societal, even cultural respect for the Wayseer temperament. So children who are impulsive and creative and high energy and think outside the box and don't respond to rules very well tend to be punished a great deal more than the more docile children. And they tend to be shamed, and they tend to be actively put down by antagonized authority figures who will actually kind of go to battle with these Wayseer kids and want to crush them because these kids threaten their authority and threaten their status and threaten their feeling of being in control. And so you get all these kids who could be these brilliant, generous, very empathic innovators and entrepreneurs and social change agents and great artists. And then a lot of them are just broken by our culture and our society. And so when they grow up, they're kind of embittered. They've just, you know, authority figures haven't been kind to them. So then when they become the authority, it's almost like, oh, it's payback time, you know? And so there's this mentality, and it's the mentality that brought down Wall Street. There's this kind of pirate mentality that a lot of Wayseers can take on when they're told again and again growing up, you're a troublemaker, you're never going to amount to anything, you know, you've got a disorder, all this stuff that we kind of put on Wayseer kids as they get older. And then they realize that they can game the system, and they have this intelligence that allows them to work outside the lines and achieve amazing results, can get seduced by the dark side, can get seduced by exploitation and the kinds of gambling mentality that infected Wall Street, that brought the whole, you know, system down. And then the ones at the helms of these organizations, unfortunately, these are the people who were willing to play the dirtiest. So they may be Wayseers, but they're also very corrupt Wayseers. And they may be psychopaths or sociopaths, but this doesn't mean all Wayseers are psychopaths and sociopaths. It means that Wayseers are pushed in that direction by the way we're bringing up our Wayseer children.